Losing time, I'm fading fast. I just wanna make it last. Try to let go of the past. I close my eyes, embrace the blast. Sleepless nights and headaches stack. Restlessness to hell and back.
This is honestly a very personal take, and looking back, it feels like Xiaomi may have missed yet another golden chance to really push its sales. At first, I genuinely believed the Leica camera system wasn't something you'd need to use all the time. It felt too subjective, too niche, and probably not for everyone. Street photography, after all, is usually about how much effort you put into moving around and finding moments. But now, I have to admit, I was wrong. I actually hope you give it a try. A quick shout out to my tech partner from China for sharing this video. A big thank you for making this possible. Hey everyone, it's Maiky from techmaiky. If you love staying updated with the latest gadgets, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our exciting tech content. Hey everyone, when it comes to the Leica version of the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, my initial mindset was to split it into two separate ideas. On one side, there was the premium you pay for that red Leica label, and on the other, the Ultra itself as a tool for everyday shooting. At the time, these two things felt completely opposite, almost disconnected from each other. But after using the phone for 2 full weeks, my opinion flipped entirely. I'm also glad I didn't rush to put out a video. It turns out only kids obsess over traffic numbers, while adults are just struggling to get by. From a purely subjective point of view, the Leica imaging system is absolutely suited for street photography. In that sense, it's a genuinely exciting device. You've probably already seen plenty of content about it, and I've taken photos like this too, with lyrics playing in my head. You told me to leave you alone. My father said, come on home. My doctor said, take it easy. Oh, but your loving isn't much too strong. I'll bet it to you. And if you didn't like the background music earlier, well, that just proves how subjective taste and aesthetics really are. A lot of people feel that the Leica Smooth mode inspired by the M9 is hard to control, especially with its strong black and white character. Honestly, who would randomly shoot so many black and white photos anyway? Turns out, I would. This change in mindset actually happened before New Year's Day. A friend and I went to the Forbidden City planning to shoot some portrait samples, and my friend insisted on using only the black and white smooth mode. In tough moments, you've got my back. What are you doing to me? Shooting in that mode felt like the entire world suddenly went quiet. I placed shots of the same scenes side by side, one in color and one in black and white. Don't you think the color version already looks pretty good? And yet, the black and white image still stands out more. All you really need to do is find the highlights and shadows, put them where they belong, and the photo is basically done. To be honest, portraits were never something I expected to feel comfortable shooting with Leica Smooth mode, or even with Xiaomi's imaging in general. But reality surprised me in a big way. After that, things kind of spiraled. I started rethinking how this so-called Leica look fits into everyday photography, and I began trying to use it as much as possible in my daily shots. Sure, there are situations that look very flat, like indoor scenes without much lighting or contrast. But honestly, flat lighting looks flat no matter which brand you're using. The key difference is that even a tiny shift in light and shadow can completely change the result. The M9 CCD style mode uses a fixed 5500K color temperature, which creates a really beautiful warm tone indoors. When the ambient light gets dimmer, you also get a pleasing contrast between warm and cool colors. Because of this, scenes where Xiaomi previously wasn't very strong, like food photography, suddenly gain an extra layer of richness thanks to that warmth. Another point where this mode outperforms Leica Classic, in my opinion, is that it doesn't rely on heavy vignetting to create atmosphere. When you put these photos next to each other, it's obvious that the M9 style delivers cleaner colors and a purer look. Some of the Forbidden City shots even carry a hint of that AFP-like feeling. And we're not done yet. You probably already know that photos taken in M9 mode are processed in the cloud and turned into optimized 50-megapixel images. What you might not know is what the resolution looks like once you zoom in. Overseas discussions talk about things like large model color training, reconstructed color pipelines, and edge cloud integration. These ideas sound abstract, but the real-world resolving power is surprisingly impressive. It doesn't have that fake, messy AI sharpening you often see. Instead, the images retain a beautiful, almost optical quality. Even fine details like fur come out smooth and natural. In black and white mode, both highlights and shadows show a natural film grain, and the texture you get is completely different from simply converting a normal photo to black and white. Because of this, I actually recommend going into your camera settings, turning on the option to keep camera settings, and setting this mode as your default as much as possible. Try using it as your main shooting mode and see how it changes your perspective. Of course, there are a few things you should keep in mind. Leica synchronization here isn't handled by a lightweight algorithm, but a much heavier one. That means shutter delay is slightly longer than in the default mode, and you can't just hold down the shutter for continuous shooting. That's still a limitation of the current system. There's also no software cropping for 28mm and 35mm focal lengths yet, only hardware cropping, so you'll need to wait for that. Then there's the hardware side, which deserves its own discussion. There's a bit of a contradiction with this generation. It's the first time the Leica red label has appeared on a co-branded device, yet it's also the most deliberate attempt at balance in the history of the Xiaomi Ultra line. Whether it's hardware choices, changes in image quality, or defining the boundaries between Leica and Xiaomi, this generation clearly makes a lot of compromises. Let's start with the ultra-wide camera. When the lighting is good or your subject is well illuminated, the JN5 handles optimization just fine and delivers solid results. But once the light drops and you try shooting on the street, motion blur starts to creep in. In low light conditions, fast shooting really pushes the hardware to its limits. Personally, I feel the Leica version could have gone further on the hardware side. A larger right 600mm ultra-wide lens, bringing back the variable aperture on the main camera would have made a big difference. Even if that meant a higher price, it would have been worth it. If the circular locking ring had been just about 1mm bigger and the focus ring slightly wider, those tolerance issues wouldn't stand out as much. This generation feels a bit too restrained and adaptable, and once again it gives the impression that Xiaomi missed a perfect chance to confidently push the price and the experience up a notch. Now about the zoom ring. Even though it's officially called a zoom ring, I personally end up using it more for exposure adjustment. Luckily, the ring on my unit is fairly tight, but once you put on the original case, it feels noticeably looser. I often bump it without realizing, and suddenly the exposure jumps several stops. Using a camera grip actually makes both zooming and exposure control much smoother. More than anything, this ring feels emotional, almost like a fun, toy-like element rather than a purely functional one. There's another detail some people might overlook. This Leica-style camera grip doesn't come with a Leica-branded case, but it can actually be attached directly to the original Leica case. The clip just doesn't fully lock. As long as you're not shaking it around, it doesn't really affect usability. Add a lens cap and suddenly you're holding something that looks almost absurdly close to a real Leica camera. Clearly, both the grip design and the fact that it doesn't perfectly pair with the Leica case are compromises. It feels like Xiaomi and Leica haven't fully aligned on this yet. Still, there are workarounds that make it usable, and you can tell Xiaomi tried its best within those limits. Looking at the Xiaomi 17 Ultra itself, both hardware and software show clear signs of refinement this year. Compared to the rougher approach of the previous generation, this one feels much more carefully thought out. Starting with the true optical zoom telephoto lens, given the size constraints of modern smartphones, the zoom range obviously can't be massive. Even with the increased module size, the aperture at the telephoto end still shrinks a bit, and VG performance is weaker. That was honestly expected. I also ran into the so-called optical axis misalignment issue. However, in some photos, that insect shadow effect doesn't appear when zoomed in. This suggests it may not be an alignment problem at all, but rather weaker stabilization combined with multi-frame synthesis causing that artifact. Even so, the upgrade solves a lot of real-world issues. It replaces the awkward mid-range telephoto from the 15 Ultra and significantly improves previously blurry telephoto shots. Overall, the improvement is very noticeable. Within this continuous focal length range, it can theoretically cover many native focal lengths offered by other brands. The 100mm end can stand alongside today's 135mm or even 200mm lenses, and the resolution still holds up well. And it's not limited to a few photo modes either. Video and live action shooting are fully supported too. The main camera's Lofic mode has also changed this year. Since it's often unclear whether it's enabled or not, Xiaomi simply made it a separate option. In that menu, you can immediately feel the stronger dynamic range. Video recording now supports up to 4K at 60 FPS as well. Portrait mode has seen a major overhaul too. You can now turn on live action portrait mode while keeping both live action and portrait bokeh algorithms active at the same time. Very few Android phones can do this right now. On top of that, cutout accuracy, hair detail, and depth recognition have all improved significantly. That said, there's still one odd limitation. At the moment, 4K 100 FPS video doesn't support double cropping and only works at the native focal length. Even more confusing, the 200 megapixel telephoto lens doesn't offer 50 megapixel RAW or ultra raw output. That doesn't seem like a particularly hard thing to fix, does it? I won't hide how much I like this generation. This is exactly what a Xiaomi Ultra should feel like. Stronger hardware paired with more polished software. If you're thinking about buying the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, I genuinely recommend spending that extra $500. The Leica moment of echo approach, both in execution and final results, is almost textbook level. Thoughtful, technically advanced, visually pleasing, emotionally resonant, and full of foresight. However, after the Xiaomi 12's Ultra, it once again lowers the threshold for producing great images. The big question is whether next year's independent Leica version can create an even wider gap compared to the regular Ultra. If it comes with a better ultra-wide lens or brings back variable aperture, it might dominate the entire C-level lineup. Honestly, I'm already excited just thinking about it. What do you think about this camera? Drop your thoughts in the comments or share your experience. That's it for today's video. See you next time.